Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Did you get enough sleep last night? It's that doggone daylight savings stuff. You lose an hour, feel like you've been shorted on your sleep, and well, it's because you have. Unfortunately, we're still working under that system. It's kind of silly, I think, but that's just my opinion. Big thing that's happening over the next couple of days is watching the banking crisis. The whole economy could fail. That's probably a little bit over exaggerated, but the fact that many banks in the next couple of days could be collapsing. We could see run on banks. We could see the beginning of hyperinflation. There's all kinds of options out there, and honestly, none of them look very good. And I thought I'd talk about that a little bit because I know a lot of people are pretty concerned about this. Not to go into the history of this because I think all of you know it, but there's been a couple of banks that's pretty much failed. The main one is the Silicon Valley Bank. That's the one everyone's focused on. But this other bank, the Republic Bank or whatever it is, it's right there behind it, riding in on its coattails. There's several others that are on the verge, depending on which expert you look at. There's between 10 and 20 other banks that are showing signs that they're on the verge of collapsing also. The Federal Reserve has announced that they're going to do an emergency closed-door meeting tomorrow morning to discuss what to do and how to handle this. The Fdic has already been involved in this. They've basically taken over Silicon Valley Bank, closed its doors, told its employees that they need to be planning on being employed for another month and a half, and then they're done. So that bank is toast. This is an interesting thing with this bank. Everyone always talks about Fdic insurance and everything. At least my money's backed up once I got it in the bank. And I've been telling you that they don't have the money to back things. This one bank, the Silicon Valley Bank, had $210 billion in deposits. Only 3% of those deposits were insured by Fdic because this bank was a little bit more unusual than most. It was known as a bank for a lot of big companies, and so most of its deposits and accounts were from large companies. So only 3% of its accounts were under that $250,000 threshold to be Fdic insured. So 97% of that $210 billion is potentially not insured. Now, this other bank has about $174 billion in deposits. So it's a large bank also. Now, to put that all in perspective, the Fdic currently only has about $125 billion on its books. $125 billion. You've got a $210 billion bank and a $174 billion bank. And even if they were to cover everything in both of those banks, it could very well take up most, or if not all, of the money that the Fdic has on the books. So what happens if any other banks start failing? Well, there has to be some kind of, federal bailout or buyout, or just allowing it to just collapse and people lose their money. There's not really a good solution on this. There's been rumors of, and also I just want to point out that the Fdic yesterday said that they and the Federal Reserve are talking about creating some kind of slush fund. Get this, a slush fund to help cover any future bank collapses if they continue. So they're not really saying that they're going to necessarily back up this bank. There's rumors that they may pay out up to 50% of the deposits. So whatever you have in your bank account, they would, back up 50% of it, and the rest of it, it's just your loss, buddy. Oh, the Federal Reserve whispers at least coming from that, because they, what options do they have? Of course, they could just buy it out, and I don't know that would really shore up any faith and trust in the banking system that they have to be bought out by the Federal Reserve. They could raise interest rates and they could lower interest rates. But here's the thing, when it comes to that, they've kind of painted themselves into a corner. a knee-jerk reaction to save the banks, and potentially, because there's no guarantee this would be to lower interest rates. So if they went in tomorrow and they decided we're going to do an emergency drop of, 50 basis points to, half a percentage to lower interest rates, it's not going to necessarily, at least I don't think, it's not going to stop a banking run and banking collapse. It's just going to prolong it. But in the end, it's going to cause, inflation to just skyrocket. We could see, within just a couple of months, 10% officially. That's well over 10% actual, but official interest rates, inflation, we could see well over 10% shoot back up. And potentially higher than that. We could see the start of some type of hyperinflationary period. They go in and they continue to raise interest rates. It may help with inflation, maybe, but I think we're going to see, if that happens, pretty definitely several other banks within the next few days collapse. Another thing to think of that we have to factor in, and this is the hard one to factor in, is that this is the first time that anything like this, where it comes to markets, economy, and potential bank collapses and bank runs, in the age of social media internet. We had the internet back in 2008, but it wasn't like it is now. Not everyone was plugged in instantly. Now the whole world sees everything instantly as it happens. Back in past decades, when there have been bank runs, I mean, I would guess that a lot of the bank runs and the collapsing of banks were over by the time a lot of people even found out it was happening. So it was more little pockets and regionally. It would take days sometimes for that information to be spread, because it was all done by newspaper, and it could take days for that to be spread around. Whereas this, it's instant. It's absolutely instant. And it could cause nationwide or global panic within just moments. Just yesterday, there's been pictures and videos. Most of this is concentrated to California, of people standing outside of banks in the rain trying to get their money out. I saw some reports, unconfirmed reports of ATMs not working, or banks closing early, or just not opening up because of some made up reason in certain parts of the country. One of them was in Utah, and then there was also reports Friday of people trying to take their money out of a bank in New York, and they were not allowing them to take the money out, and they ended up calling the police and having them removed. So we're starting to see the start of this. And like I said, that I think that the big thing with this, that it's kind of hard at this moment to determine, is the reaction of the people, the reaction in the markets. What's it going to be tomorrow morning when the markets open, or even this evening? Are we going to see a massive sell-off? Are we going to see this panic? So far, and I will admit this has been the strangest one that I have been unable to determine what's going on. Through all of this, for the last 3 years of pandemic and everything, while the markets certainly have fluctuated, they haven't reacted nearly as much and dramatically as I expected at times, when there have been certain serious things going on. So it's possible that the markets don't react in too dramatic of a way, and it's possible that they do. We just don't know. That's a factor that's always, it's a wild card. And in the same way, tomorrow morning when banks start opening, how will people react? Will we start seeing people en masse running to withdraw money from the bank? I don't know. And that's going to be probably the biggest deciding factor of what goes on. I mean, by the time the Fed has their meeting, which I think is scheduled at like 11 or 12 o'clock tomorrow, there could already have been a bank run started, because again, we're dealing with instant media. People are plugged into their Twitter and their Snapchat and their Instagram and their Facebook and all these things, where that information can be spread across the world in a very, very rapid manner, causing panic. And so It's very possible that we could see that. I think personally we're probably over the next week going to see several more banks collapse. I don't know that we're going to see a complete collapse of it all. I would guess that they would probably start shutting down markets, pausing things to put some brakes on this. But it's definitely stuff that's happening, and it looks pretty serious. So you have to be prepared. I mean, I've been telling you this for a long time, that, these are the kinds of things that we need to be prepared for. Hopefully, many of you have already restructured your finances to try to help in some way protect against this kind of stuff. Because as we've seen with this, it can happen very rapidly, virtually overnight. I mean, within a 24-hour period, we had a bank that seemed to be stable and fine, and then it was collapsed. And there was a lot of shenanigans going on with this bank. Just a few days before they collapsed, they paid out a bunch of bonuses. Most of the executive board of the bank leadership sold out all of their stock over the last couple of weeks. So someone knew it was coming, is what I mean. But the bottom line is it's happening. I mean, it's flat out happening. And there's I put it this way. This one, I would be really shocked if come Monday morning, tomorrow morning, nothing happens. That, we don't see any more banks collapse. We don't see any bank runs. We don't see anything too dramatic. And a lot of you say, well, maybe that's what the media wants. Maybe that's what the overlords want. They want to just downplay it. It's possible, but I'm kind of thinking this time around, the people in charge, they kind of want this to happen. Maybe not a complete total collapse, but I think they want it to be somewhat dramatic. They have to instill enough fear in the people that the banking system, the current old-fashioned banking system, is not stable. So that here in another month or two, when they say, well, we're working on this CBDC and it's really good, they have to show that the old system is unstable. Same way with cryptocurrency, and we've been seeing cryptocurrency and these cryptocurrencies banks and stuff are doing the same thing. They're being affected in the same way, which is kind of strange, but it's happening because a lot of these banks and a lot of these accounts are tech related, and so it's strongly affecting crypto also. And so I suspect we're going to see some more of it because they have to set the stage that crypto and traditional banking are just unsafe anymore. We've got to switch over to something that's more secure, and central bank digital currency is where it's at, folks. Yay! Just get ready. I mean, who knows? Is this a distraction, or will there be something else that distracts us? I mean, just in the last yesterday evening, this morning, we've been flying B-52 bombers. The big ones, over in Europe, right snuggling up to the Russian border. There's been some flights that's been less than 10 miles from the Russian border. There's a lot of stuff going on the kind of the war front. Things heating up constantly, and maybe that's the appearance that they want, but you always have to remember that there's that wild card of some rookie guy making the wrong mistake and accidentally dropping the bomb or accidentally launching or something like that, and it could cause things to spiral out of control. When you're working this close together, when enemies are working that close, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and I mean, I don't plan on I don't keep very much money in the bank anyways. I'm not a fan of banks. I'll probably be doing a video later this week, some more on the UPMA bank that I have mentioned in the past, trying to kind of explain things a little bit better. Been getting a lot of questions on that. And I'll make another video trying to explain some things. So that's also an option. It's not part of the Federal Reserve. It's not part of the FDIC. It's not part of the fake money system. It's a gold bank. You're actually putting your money into gold, and it's actual physical gold that you own. It's not just a depository. We'll explain it later. You get a debit card that you can spend. You can go to the gas station and fill your tank up with gold. I know it sounds crazy, but it's real. I do it. But anyways, folks, just be on your guard. And here's the thing: if this gets out of control, whether or not they want it to or not. It could get out of control, and we could see little pockets of violence, rioting. The bank is closing, and I'm going to be the first one in line and to get my money out, and people fighting for that. There's all kinds of things that could happen. All right, I'm not saying it will, but I'm saying it's possible, because we live in a different world than we did the last times that history ever saw any kind of bank runs or anything like that. People are much more unstable, and they're so quick to violence, and then we have this internet that's just going to share it with the whole world instantly. So it could potentially get a little crazy over the next couple of days. So I would suggest you get ready for that. It may not happen, but it doesn't hurt to be prepared, folks. It's time to get your houses in order. It's time to prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.